see the feet on him when he's down here. They're the size of a hubcap.
We just shot a hog of a brown.
Nothing's easy in this country. That was a hike and a half, boy.
On this week's show, we're heading up to northern Saskatchewan on the luckiest week of bear hunting I've ever been a part of. Not only did we catch up with 3 old bears, but all 3 of them also had the unique colored coats that most bear hunters dream of.
Well, getting into the stand was fairly exciting tonight. We had one sow right beneath the tree when I walked in, and a sow and 3 black cubs on the bait, and things are going to get a little interesting tonight because I just heard a huff, and right here above my head off to my right I've got 2 little brown cubs not 10 yards away, so hopefully Mom doesn't get too upset. I'm just kind of keeping a look in here around here to see if she's coming in, but see what happens tonight.
Now, what Blake didn't tell you is that I like to think of him as a bear-aholic. Blake has a special passion for these big old mature bears that is second to none. And once he gets on the trail of a good one, the game is on no matter how long it takes. Case in point, about 3 years ago, I was packing the video camera when Blake and I had a close encounter with this exceptional bear. Now at first glance, this guy wasn't all that unique until I zoomed in on his head and saw all the battle scars. It was pretty obvious this old bear had been around the block a few times, and he proved his age only seconds later when that sixth sense that all these old bears seem to have tipped him off, and he melted away without ever giving Blake a shot. Now, let's fast forward a few years, and Blake still had been getting random pictures of the same old bear. The only problem was he was now covering a huge area, and as a result, calling him unpredictable was hopeful at best. So, let's get back in the tree with Blake and see what happens.
The Canadian Guide Life with Brad Fry is brought to you by Monarch Images, trail cameras that capture the action. Fort Muzzle Shell Outfitters, Montana's finest big game hunts. Buddy Ramp, the safe way to get loaded. Big Buck Magazine, Canada's #1 deer hunting publication. And by Fry's Canadian Outback Outfitters.
Before the break, Blake had just gotten settled into his stand when this scarred-up old boar, who Blake and I had a brief encounter with 3 years ago, came strolling down the trail, scattering the youngsters back in the cover. So, let's see if Blake's 3-year wait was worth it.
Yes. We just shot a hog of a brown. I gotta get down and go see this guy. He is a beautiful bear. I see brown, folks. I see lots of brown. Look at what we got right here. Oh, is he a pig? Well, I'm gonna get him flipped over here and we'll have a better look at him. He is a battler. Look at that head. He is just tore up. I'm gonna go back and see if I can pick up my arrow, and I guess I better go enlist some help to get him out of here because I don't think I'll be doing it by myself.
Later that night, when Dennis Stabe and I got in from doing a little bear hunting of our own, I got a call from a very excited Blake, letting us know that his 3-year hunt was over. Early the next morning, and Dennis and I met up with Blake to give him a hand.
He's just up here. Thank you, sir.
Wasted.
After finishing up with Blake's pictures, Dennis and I drove back to camp and headed out that very same evening. And for those of you that watched episode 4, you know exactly how Dennis's evening played out when another big old chocolate stepped out of the forest.
Oh my God. That was unbelievable. My first bear, can you believe it? Start at the top. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you're starting at the top, all right. That thing is a beauty.
Came up this week. Got to go on 2 other recoveries of bear pushing 400 pounds. Never dreaming I'd be able to have the opportunity to do the same thing, and look at this thing. Unbelievable. It's a dream.
It's just good.
It's all good.
Forget about it.
Oh man.
Let's go get the bike.
Drop sign on this side.
It's time now for another blast from the past. Here's Brad with today's vintage video.
On this week's vintage video, let's stick with the bear hunting and go back in time once again with our good friend Blake Coutts to see just when I think he became a bearaholic. Within a few days after both Blake and Dennis had taken great bears, I'd finished up guiding for the spring, and with a few weeks of the season left, I couldn't help but let my mind drift off to another certain bear I'd been after for a few years. Long story short, the first chance we got, Blake and I headed out to try to keep our lucky streak alive.
Well, we just snuck into the stand in the morning. We left home at about 4 this morning. And Blake and I have both been gone guiding for the last 3 weeks. So we just got down the stand. And it's on fire. Just checked the camera. We got a big chocolate. We've got a big white patch. I've been after him for the last 3 years. Very unpredictable, so. But it's been real crummy weather last 3-4 days. So today it's blue skies, high pressure. So our scent should be rising up, and we should see some action this morning. About 10:30. Looks like he's a no-show again for about the 100th time, so we're gonna head back to camp, grab something to eat and maybe a nap, and we'll sneak back in here tonight and see if we can finally see this guy. He was in here about 2 hours ago. Already. Well, me and Blake went back to camp, had a snooze, had something to eat. While we were gone, I just checked the camera, and guess who was in here about 3:30 for about half an hour. It's about 6:30 now, so at least we know he's in the area, but this guy's begging for it if we can just catch up to him. But hopefully he comes back tonight.
With the young bears relaxed and moving early, it was a sure sign that the wind was good. All we could do now was sit like statues and hope the big guy would finally make a mistake.
He's right there. He was right there. 7 yards, sitting down.
He owned the joint.
Did you see the feet on him when he was down here? They're the size of a hubcap.
You know, your first one might have been liver.
Yeah. There's some more good stuff on that log. There he is. There's the second arrow. So he's still got a broadhead in him, so. And alive.
Oh, he smoked.
My dream bear was always big and big white patch. I was thinking black, but the chocolate's like adding a couple of drop times. She's like an interior grizzly, this thing. He's perfect. Couldn't be happier. Just awesome.
Next week on the Canadian Guide Life.
Next week, we're heading south just across the border to the great state of Montana to join up with good friend and fellow guide, Destry Harris. Now, after guiding hunters all fall, Destry finally gets a chance to grab his bow and go after elk in his own backyard. And as usual, Destry didn't disappoint. A few weeks later, and Destry pointed his truck north to join up with me in Saskatchewan, where it was my job to try and keep his lucky streak going.